Welcome to the Kintsugi Heroes podcast special Alpine Bushfires series, where we share inspirational stories of everyday people from the Victorian Alpine region who went through the bushfires which occurred from late 2019 through to early 2020. These stories highlight the different challenges and events people went through and how they overcame them. Please be aware that the story you're about to hear may have moments of deeply felt emotions and personal experiences. If anything you hear has a triggering effect, please reach out to someone who can help you. If you love this conversation, please like and share it with your friends so we can continue to share more inspiration and hope to as many people as possible. Now, listen up for our next hero's story. Hello, here we are. It is another episode, and this is our special Alpine series for Kintsugi Heroes. And my guest today is Ron Janas. How are you doing, Ron?
Yeah, good, thanks, Evelyn. And happy winter.
Exactly. It's the first day of winter today. So far, my children have not come up to me and done pinch of the punch for the first day of the month. I think they forgot, but that's probably coming a bit later on. They love doing that.
No, after midday it doesn't count.
Oh, that's true. After midday it does not count. So they've missed out. Thank you so much for joining me on the show and for coming to share your story. And this is all about obviously the bushfires and in the region, and you've been it's affected you in your life, and I'm keen to hear all about that. So now I'm going to literally hand the mic over to you and invite you to take us back to the beginning and share with us your story.
Oh, thanks, Evelyn. It's good to have these stories out there, because if the story's not told, then that history is forgotten, and we need to learn from historical events going forward. So just a little bit of background on myself. I've lived here in the Buffalo River Valley for 34 years. I'm a current member of the Buffalo River Fire Brigade. I've been in the CFA 32 years now. I'm a retired police officer from the area. And I'm also currently a councillor with the Alpine Shire Council. So I've had many and varied roles in the community. So some are historic, some are current. Our area is quite renowned for areas where bushfires actually start. And that's because of the geography of our area, the granite outcrops up at Mount Buffalo, and get lightning strikes, and they start bushfires, and they predominantly travel along and, cause greater fires going forward. And I suppose at the time we could just focus on the 2019, where we had so many fires north of us on the border and coming our way. There was a lot of concern from the authorities about where that was heading and how that's going to impact certain communities. So everyone was super vigilant, and we had the military here. We had police from all other areas coming to support us. We had the army here. So this was something we've never normally had the military forces here to assist the community, and although they were there to try and support and calm things, because of there's a lot of media coverage of this, and some people react differently to media coverage. It's a matter of getting the facts straight. If it's overhyped, then people who've not experienced these conditions before, either visitors or new people to the area, can overreact as well. So it's trying to keep things calm. So, look, our brigade was called out, as was every other brigade in the area, to fight fires to the south of us and to the southwest of us that were coming through the area. And we have a lot of pine plantations surrounding us. So they're a valuable asset to our community because they provide jobs. So we did a lot of asset protection in the pine forests with other units and with the HVP, which harvest those pines, or Hancock plantations. A lot of shift work in that, 12-hour shifts on the truck. So it was taxing in that regard. One of the issues that sort of has always worried me since then is our community on a number of occasions were asked to evacuate. And we had police members coming up to our driveways, etc., advising us that we have to go. Now, our partners who are left behind worry about us as well, and that's natural. And I think that, and I can say that even in my case, there was some disagreement whether I should accompany my wife into a safer place or I just stay here and keep sleeping. So that in itself caused some consternation within the household. And one of those reasons is because I knew what was happening on the fire front, but other people didn't. So I made my judgment call from that. But I think one of the lessons learned is, you look after your family first, and yourself and your family first. If the bush burns, so be it. There's no real lives at risk there. But the other thing that concerns me about the number of evacuations that we had is people were asked to go to nearby towns. And this could have been at 2:00 in the morning or 1:00 in the morning, where you've got a lot of smoke about, got a lot of wildlife fleeing fires or fleeing the smoke on the roads. And the communities where they would have had to drive through areas that, in my view, were unsafe. What we need to do is communities is to have places where people can go, families can go and be looked after, I suppose, by people of your own community. That's where they feel more comfortable. And I think that can be done. But these are decisions made from incident control centres and the like, and maybe they have a greater view of the picture of where things are happening, but I don't know whether that was best communicated to the community. And I'm not saying that, they did this just, they want to look after life. That's their first role, is to look after life and then property to make sure we're safe. But that's something that has kept coming back to us ever since that event. And a lot of people did stay in town, and we went to friends' places and stayed overnight. Then we tried to get back home, and because the road was clear again to come back. And then you'd get stopped at a roadblock to say, sorry, you can't go. And then you'd get this argy-bargy at a roadblock, and people would not always be respectful, so to speak, with the officers or people manning those roadblocks, because one minute they're told they can come, then they can't. And of course, we're a farming agricultural community. People are concerned about their stock and their fencing and all of the rest. So getting the message clear and consistent is of most importance in any of these things. So that's something I think we can learn on and improve on going forward. And we've had many fires here since my time here, and they're all different. They all travel a bit differently, but in this instance, I think it was hypervigilance from those in command because of what was also happening up in New South Wales and coming our way, and also because of what occurred in 2009, say with Marysville, and how quickly that fire spread. So, and then there was the issue where some farmers in particular would not leave their farm, their stock and things. Their neighbour would leave, then they'd ring the farmer that stayed behind to ask them to check on their property. So there was extra stress on those people staying behind to give updates of what's happening before. And of course, the other thing with the firefighters who lived in this area, and this did actually happen, where we'd been out all night on a fire and you'd come back to where you lived and were stopped at a road to go and get some sleep, and stopped and said, you can't go through, and that was it. Full stop, no arguments, you can't go through. But you've been out all night fighting a fire. So there's lessons there that need to be understood, and it causes so much angst within the community and negativity. And that's something we really have to avoid in time of a major incident like a fire or even a flood. Anyway, I think we're getting better at that going forward, and there's always got to be positives out of these things. So we must talk up the positives. But nevertheless, some people are still affected by that, and that is ongoing. The other point I'd make and is the mental health side of things. Country people are very resilient in themselves, and I don't doubt that there are some people who have got some mental health issues because of it. But most people just want to deal with the incident and then move on and get the positives happening. The more we pursue that, sometimes the less we're able to move on from it. And I've seen that as well. And there's a lot of money being expended on the mental health side of things. I'd like to see, more money spent on repairing some of the damage done, repairing the environment, ensuring that places where people can go safely are better equipped to deal not only with people but their pets and other animals that are dear to them, and ensuring that our community spirit remains. And that's one wonderful thing about living in the community is the community spirit and how the community all gets around each other to help in those times. And that's that resilience and bonding within a community. So that's extremely important. And that's capacity building as well. So, it's been a few years now since that thing, and I've said my bit to the Emergency Management Commissioner, Tony Pearce. I think by the time I finished with them, they thought I needed to. Next stop was to go and see the mental health person, but I got it off my chest and move on. So, but I think with this process as well, other people are probably thinking the same or similar to me, but they don't necessarily want to express it for fear of hurting somebody who may be in genuine need still. And I certainly acknowledge that there are people who are in that need. And I recently went up through Corowa and up through those bushfire-affected areas. People are still, over in Gippsland, they're still living in caravans and bush houses. They still haven't got their house back. They've been badly affected in that regard, and I felt really, really sorry for them because I didn't lose anything here, but they've lost a lot where they are, and I didn't consider this particular incident as bad as some of the ones we've had previously, but certainly there are other people close by to us who were in other shires and who were more affected. We move on, and I've moved on.
You're very pragmatic and resilient and caring at the same time, Ron.
I think always, it helps if you just keep banging on about it. Yeah, yes, you must care, but you've got to get on with life as well. As a result of trying to be more resilient and making use of some of that funding that became available through the bushfire funds. So our community at Buffalo River do not have a community hall. Everyone meets at the fire shed, which is pretty basic. So in order to upgrade that facility a bit, and when I mean upgrade, I mean putting in a female toilet instead of just one outdated toilet on the side of the shed, it has become a bureaucratic nightmare.
Sorry for the interruption. This is Ian Westmoreland, the founder of Kintsugi Heroes, and thank you for listening to this story from one of our amazing heroes. Our mission is for these stories to provide hope and inspiration to people experiencing life challenges, and to also educate the broader community on how best to provide support. If you would like to help us to continue to produce more hero stories and cover more adversity themes, we would welcome all donations. These can be made via our website, kintsugiheroes.com.au. The donate function is at the bottom of the homepage. We'd also welcome any feedback. You can email me direct using ian@kintsugiheroes.com.au. Now let's get back to the story.
And the costs have blown out exponentially. And so therefore that project has been going for 2 years now. And the best we've got is a oversized hay shed on the side of the building, and a partly constructed male and female toilet. So the bureaucrat system has taken over, has cost more money. We could have had it built and been using the facility 18 months ago, had it been left to the locals to get the job done.
You're just stating the facts, right, Ron? You've given a lot of, I guess, wisdom, right? And you've shared with me, Ron, a lot of learnings that you and the community can take away from the events of 2019, but also you're coming from many other events. I mean, you've been in the community a long time and you've seen more than one bushfire.
I don't know if I can add too much more to the conversation and my story, but I would advise people, yes, these things happen, but be resilient, be organised for these events, because they will continue to happen, whether it be a fire or a flood or something else, heat stress. All the scientific evidence is that it will occur, and they will occur more frequently and with higher intensity as we go forward. And we can all do something about that, even in our own homes, so that we have plans in place. If we have to evacuate you, make sure you take all the documents that you need to take with you. All these plans are out there on all the different government websites. People just need to accept the fact this is going to happen, and before a fire season starts, get yourself organised and have a written plan in place. And the best one is to do a written plan and to tell you what to do with the children.
Yeah.
Because they are organised, they learn about these things at school, and we have an active program within the Alpine Shire with resilience with children at all over the schools, and they're really good at it. And I think when we reflect back to when we had to wear seatbelts and the click clunk every trip or something was the catchphrase, and it was the children who would remind the parents what they had to do. So we have to listen to and educate our young ones in this. Just because we did it 50 years ago doesn't mean it's always relevant to today's circumstances.
Very true. And I have to say, I remember that. Click, clack, front and back.
Yeah, that was another one. That's you might be.
That's the one that I heard and I learned when I was a kid. Ron, I got a question. For the 2019 fires, you touched on, the emergency services and also having the military there and all of that. What was your role during the time of the actual fires, over those days when the fire was raging in the community? Were you with the fire brigade then? Were you fighting the fires?
Well, I had a role with the CFA as a volunteer, and then I was also attending community meetings as a councillor. People do look to their local leaders for strength and advice, and to know that you've got their back and you're looking after their interests. So that's why, I didn't give updates on what the fire is doing, etc., etc. I leave that up to the professionals who are in charge of, in the incident controller or whomever it might be that are leading that part of it. But I think it's good that you have your local representatives also there to support people and help people who don't quite understand what's going on, and ensure that they get that information in a timely manner so that they do understand. And there might not be able to just hear, or there's a language difficulty, could be anything. They might be worried about their farm or their children somewhere else. So you've got to make sure that they're okay. So, yeah, multiple roles in that regard. And, of course, then you've got your own property to look after. I back International Park here. We're classified as a high-risk area. And, of course, if my wife is left here, clearly that she is concerned about the physical aspects of a fire coming onto our property. So, as I said earlier, the first thing is to ensure that yourself and your family are safe. And if you have to get out of there, just get out then. If the house goes, it goes. But take your documents with you when you go, because then you're going to have to deal with bureaucrats again to try and get all the information back.
Did the fire come close to your house in 2019?
No,
okay.
It didn't. No. The smoke was the worst thing, and the constant days living in a smoke-filled environment has an effect on everybody, and that was because the winds come up from the south or southwest. If there's a fire that way, it blows into our valley, and we can have weeks of it. You can't even see the front road because of the thickness of the smoke. And that's where you also need to know if your neighbours, for argument's sake, have got someone who's asthmatic in the house, that they're safe and not suffering with some other medical complaint. That's looking after your neighbours as well as your family.
You speak with a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience, Ron. I'm very grateful for you sharing that with me.
That's all right. I'm pleased if someone. It might. I'm hoping that people think similarly to me, that they're not feeling bad that they're thinking in a certain way, because there's a lot of people thinking the same way. I think, but I still say those people who are suffering mentally from it, then there are provisions out there. There's a lot of provisions out there for assistance, and it's all confidential, and and I'd encourage people to do that. But on the other hand, I'd also ask those organisations to be mindful that people also need just to move on and just don't keep reminding them all the time.
Mm. Yeah, and I completely understand what you're saying. If you stay in the pain, you're just staying in a whirlpool of pain, reminding yourself and continually going back to something that can't be changed. And there's no judgment on these people that have mental health issues, because we've all experienced it in some way. Quality of life is clearly a priority for you and for everybody. And I can see where you're coming from. You want people to move on to be able to progress and enjoy their life.
Indeed. Enjoy what we have. We live in a wonderful country, wonderful area up here in the northeast of Victoria, and we share so much with our friends who come from the cities to visit us, and they have to understand as well. And this is another issue with an area like ours. We've got a high tourist visitation. People have to understand that if there's a major incident like this, we can't look after everybody. And when a town goes from 3,000 to 30,000, we have to, and not being unkind, but you'd have to say, people, if you don't need to be here, maybe it's best to pop back to the city or wherever you've come from, because our community is under stress here, and having more and more people doesn't always help. And that's not being unkind to the people either. It's a fact that we can't. You can't have a fire truck at every house or surrounding every street or anything. The more and more people there are, that risk becomes more. And if you do come to an area and it's a high fire day or something, well, check the local conditions before you light up a fire somewhere, a little campfire somewhere. And when you do have a campfire, make sure you put the thing out properly with water.
Mm. Yeah. I've got a final question. If you think about the journey you've been on, as in you've seen many bushfires, a lot of natural disasters, you've got a lot of pragmatic experience, like wisdom, and a lot of experience. So moving forward, looking into the future, as you've said, more of these fires are going to come. They could be bigger and greater in severity. We know that from weather predictions and what's going on from research. It's not just fires, it's floods. And this is Australia. We're the land of fires and floods. What advice or what would you like to say to someone into the future about how to cope or deal with another natural disaster?
Preparation and planning are key to it, and ensuring you have a plan. I spoke about this before, a written plan within your house, and everybody in the house knows what they're going to do if something occurs, because one of the partners might be out in the paddock or on the fire truck or in the SES or something occurs, so the rest of the family have to take over and take charge of that situation at home. When you come to an area, and as I said before, if it's an area that's prone to certain things, just check the local conditions and make sure you understand them, before you come, and then know what your little plan is if something does occur. And it's even like going for a swim in the river. If you can't swim, don't go in the deep end and where there's logs and undercurrents there that you're not aware of. It's not like the local swimming pool in the middle of Melbourne. And so there's, whether it's on the Murray or on the Buffalo River, it's all the same. Check your local conditions before you jump in.
Thank you for that, Ron. It's, you've got a lot of wisdom. I like what you say, your message. Thank you for sharing. And I love your positivity and your strength, right? And the way that you get on with things, and you're very caring and very accepting and wise and pragmatic at the same time. So good on you. Thank you for sharing. Thanks for being here. And I hope that your message resonates with people in the right ways whenever they hear this. And I'm sure it will. So I appreciate you being here today.
Well, thank you. And it's just watching this thing, there's another issue too. Don't think that you're going to get mobile coverage when you come up to the country, particularly if you're on particular service providers. You just won't get it.
Won't get it. Very good tip. That's it. Thanks, Ron.
We'll call it quits for the day.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
No worries.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Kintsugi Heroes with the Alpine Bushfires Special Series. Please like and share the show to your friends so we can get this out to even more people. If you have a story you'd like to share with us, please reach out using the contact details below. And join us for our next hero's story. Until then, keep being you and remember that we are all heroes in our own unique way.
Only when it's broken. Only when it's broken. When it hits you in the middle of the night and the truth burns so bright. Only when it's broken. Only when it's broken. Take pride in those cries. It's only for tonight, and then you rise. Only when you're broken.